For Creamer Media's Polity, I'm Shannon de Rehove. Researcher and analyst Professor Raymond Suttner joins me for Suttner's View, a weekly commentary on South Africa's political scene. Welcome, Professor.
Thank you.
Now, Gauteng has experienced an unprecedented water crisis lasting between 10 and 14 days. How do you understand this?
It's quite difficult. I'm not a specialist on disaster management. That's not my background. But when one listens to the various statements about this crisis, one has a problem of credibility. One hears it's not a crisis, yet in the nerve center of the South African economy for 10 days, 14 days, maybe more, people have been without water. Obviously, we are just getting a taste of what people experience in various parts of the country. And it is one of a series of crises where we are not getting satisfactory answers, crises of education, healthcare, electricity, roads, and so forth. And the problem that one has when you listen to the Minister of Water Affairs, the only feature that she points to is cable theft. Now, cable theft is not unique to South Africa, but it has not brought New York to a standstill. It has not brought Milwaukee or other parts of the United States to a standstill. So we have to ask ourselves, what exactly has been the planning for such eventualities? Have they prepared for one or other part of their system to fail? And what has been in place? Now, one of the things that we know is that where there's a power failure, Rand Water has a secondary power source. That secondary power source has not been working since 2012 and it's not been repaired. Now, what this points to is a level of negligence, a level of unpreparedness to cater for a major disaster in a major city. And business have made statements that it affects confidence in the country. We hear things of hotels in Sandton where people are asking for their money back because there's no water. And it seems to me, from what I'm reading of other people's expertise, that there are problems of management, there are problems of who takes responsibility for this, there are problems of the relationship between water supply and energy supplies, and there are problems of wastage. I don't know if it's valid. Musi Maimani says that 30% of the water from Rand Water doesn't reach the taps. Now, on Twitter, I asked for confirmation of this and what the source is for that statement, but I never got a reply. But allegations like that are being made. We don't know if they're valid or not. But certainly the impression that one gets is that we are a very vulnerable country. We have a situation where at the level of the president, we're having complete contempt for systems of governance. And you can't expect that that level of contempt shown at the top will not filter down to various levels. Now, we knew that was happening in Northwest. Madibeng municipality didn't supply water, and the municipality had the capacity to supply water at some point, but they had a deal with people who would privately supply it. So there's a whole lot of things that are happening at the outskirts of this country. Now we're finding, we don't know if corruption is involved, but certainly there's malgovernment, and we don't know the full story, and we're certainly not getting it with all this report of cable theft.
How do we address this issue of cable theft?
Well, the question really is, in the first place, is cable theft the problem? I mean, how big a problem is cable theft? And if cable theft is a big problem, is there no way of stopping it? I mean, is it such a serious and intricate crime that the police have no capacity to address it? And, I find it very hard to understand that policing methodologies have not evolved to a point that you can stop cable thefts. With all crime, you study what they do, then you have to find a point where you can penetrate and break the chain of causation, or you go to the scrap dealers, and you can do a whole lot of ways of tracing backwards. Now, have they done this? Why is it impossible? It's a relatively new phenomenon, this cable theft in South Africa, but it may be worldwide. What do we learn? What have we learned? Why is it not stopped?
What else do you think we could learn from this crisis, even though government is not calling it a crisis?
There's some very positive things. For example, what I've read or watched on TV about Laudium, how the community came together, set up a crisis management committee to regulate the way in which the water that did come was distributed, so that people, when you have water tanks come, some of the most vulnerable people may not be able to fetch it and so forth. And they took charge of things like that. And what I think it points to, which is part of the resource that we need to draw on, not only in this crisis, but the crises that we are facing in the country at the moment, is how the collective of citizens can come together to address problems, to bring pressure on government, but also to draw on their resources as communities in order to address things which they can deal with themselves. And I think we need to document cases like this and the lessons that can be learned from that community just outside Pretoria.
It's a case of active citizenry.
Yes, yes.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was Professor Raymond Suttner speaking to Creamer Media's Polity about Gauteng's recent water crisis.